For the sixth episode of the Open Dialogue podcast, I'd like to welcome on NBA skills trainer and owner of Pure Sweat, Drew Hanlen. Thanks for coming on, Drew.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you being patient and finally finding time to work for both of us.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. So first of all, you were just at All-Star Weekend. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was so different. I've been to, I don't know how many All-Star games now, but probably 7, 8, 9 All-Star games now. And this one, without any of the outside activities, without any of the parties, without any of the celebrations, without any of the dinners, I mean, it was just so different. So um, I was very pleased with the All-Star selections. Finally getting four of my guys in there with Zach LaVine finally being an All-Star for the first time, and then Joel and Brad and Jason all starting, all being on the same team. I was really looking forward to it. I know that Joel wasn't able to play because of the COVID tracing, with his barber and stuff like that. But it's something I always wanted to know. I always wanted to know how good would like an all pure sweat team be. And I know individually they've all found, themselves a lot of success and stuff like that. But it made this game, something that I was looking forward to. Obviously, I didn't get to see it, but hopefully in the future we add another client or two in there and we get to see a full starting five of all pure sweat guys.
Awesome, man. What was that like hanging out with Two Chains? I saw it on Instagram.
Yeah, he's one of my friends, so a lot of people like reach out to be like, "Oh my God, you're hanging out with rappers or whatever." But he's a great guy. He loves basketball. He played college basketball, and then he had a game that him and Lil Baby and Quavo and Jack Harlow were playing in. So I got to go down there and check that out. But no, he's a really good person. One of the fun things for me was I also got to go in the studio with him and see kind of the process that he goes through. He's been in the gym a ton watching me work out guys or me work out him. But I never got to really see his craft, and he's special, man. They put on a beat, he'll go into the kind of room and he'll start freestyling, and 15 minutes later he's got a track that you're going, wait a second, like he didn't write anything down, he just went straight off the off the dome and off the
Yeah.
top. Yeah, no, so it's fun to be an experience, a bunch of those things and get to see the work that people don't get to see, what I call the unseen hours.
Yeah, you think like with basketball and stuff, like we're so locked in with that like you would think music, rapping, all that kind of stuff, it doesn't require that much work. But like you're saying, like they kind of see it the same way probably as we do with basketball.
What I didn't realize, I mean, I knew that there were a lot of people that went into, creating a song, creating an album, etc. But first you have to pick out producers, then producers have to pick out beats, and then the beats are obviously presented to the artist. The artist has to put together kind of a not only kind of the main kind of chorus that everyone knows, kind of the main bars of the song, but then also the verses. And then after that you have to be able to lay it, you have a producer that lays all of that on top of the track, make sure they blend in, they add in ad libs, they make sure that they do all this other stuff. I mean, it's a whole process, but it's why when we hear the music, we're we're able to jam to it, just because they fine tuned everything and
Yeah.
made sure that it's not just a recording or not somebody just kind of blurring words out there and hoping they stick.
Yeah. So within basketball right now, like what is kind of an average day like for you? Like, are you just traveling from city to city, kind of working with whichever player needs your help at that time?
Yeah, so during I have basically two phases of my my kind of schedule. I have the off season, the in season. The off season is easy. I go out to LA. I have all my guys come out to me. I'm working out from maybe 7 a.m. till, I mean, sometimes 10 p.m. with a little
Jeez.
lunch
Yeah.
break in there if I'm lucky. But that's 3 4 months of the year, 3.5 months of the year. Now the in season, I'm basically on call. So that means, anytime that somebody needs to work on something, they need to tweak or adjust something, I'm basically flying to them. And then for all the other guys that I'm not there physically with them, I'm just doing their video breakdowns. So, my typical day is I wake up and I spend the first 4 or 5 hours a day breaking down film, putting together voiceover edits and stuff like that. And then maybe I get a workout in with whoever I'm with. That might be 2 hours out of my day. And then the rest of the day is spent on growing Pure Sweat, the business side of Pure Sweat that, helps me help players, coaches, trainers, scouts of, all levels instead of just my clients.
Yeah. The part that I love is it seems like even as you've gotten continued success and you've grown, you still are out here grinding like like you said, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like some people would try to just go slow down and kind of stick with the business side, have kind of people do things for you, but you're still out here just every day doing what you love.
Dude, this morning I woke up and the first thing I did, it was at like 5 a.m. And I woke up and I have a new app that I'm working with called Expert X, which is basically an app that allows players to submit videos of their shot and I break them down. So think Cameo, but instead of giving birthday shout outs, I'm actually breaking down their shots and giving them feedback.
Okay.
And I did something just for the first week. I wanted to do it for free where players could submit their videos for free. And I went through and knocked out like 40 videos where, each one takes 3-4 minutes of my time, breaking it down. But I did it for free. And people always ask me, like, why do you do things for free when you could charge a lot of money for those things? And the truth is just because I care. I care about growing the game. I also care about the players that maybe don't have access to high level teaching and they want to work hard. They're willing to put in the work, but they just don't know what to work on to really improve their game. And so, even like you, the first thing that you said when I got on here is like, man, I can't believe you actually respond to my DMs. I get 500 DMs at, any weekend. And, I try to do my best at when I'm on flights or especially when I'm traveling, I try to get back to as many as I can just to make sure that I'm still connecting and being as helpful as I can to everybody that reaches out.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love it. So which players right now are you really focusing a lot of time on? And like if you can share kind of possibly like what things you're really focusing on with them, what skills?
Yeah, so it's all my clients, to be honest with you. There's
Yeah.
not like I don't go in waves. I'm like an all in type of guy. I know there are some trainers that, kind of when guys are in town, they work out with them or, they're kind of on and off. For me, my guys are full time. I've been with all my guys, for a long time too. And so, like right now I'm in Philadelphia with Joel, and so, he's playing better than anyone in the NBA right now. I think the MVP favorite, obviously, hopefully the voters don't, hopefully voters don't consider just the games played. Hopefully they consider the body of work. And I think that if they do, then he'll have a good chance to win that. But he's just working on being a better decision maker off of double teams. He's working on his, fadeaways, his hezzy pull-ups, and his handles just so that he can attack, defensive coverages and schemes in different ways. Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine are the other three All-Stars that we had already mentioned. Each one of those guys has different things. Jason went through a little shooting slump. So, he's working on just getting his pocket a little bit lower so he can get more arc on his shot, which is going to yield better results. For Brad, same exact thing. Brad went through a little shooting slump. So Brad was a little bit different. He was dealing with some kind of little minute, stuff that we went in and have been trying to tweak and adjust. For Zach LaVine, he's been as efficient as anybody this year. So it's just continuing to be able to attack different schemes and coverages as they get thrown at him. So, with Brad and Jason, they were on the scouting report coming into the season as bucket getters, whereas Zach, everyone knew he could score because last year he had an amazing year, but now teams are really starting to zone in on him and trap him off ball screens and, run doubles at him. And so now he's starting to get, kind of going through that process. And then you have two guys that, that I got a lot of criticism for early on in the year, Kelly Oubre and RJ Barrett, who both started out ice cold, who are now both rolling. RJ, I had, 500 negative DMs of like literally a day after RJ wouldn't make shots. Knicks fans are crazy on Twitter. And, the last 28 games, he shot 49% from three and has been automatic. Kelly Oubre, who started out the season and was like he was a meme for the wrong reasons. People were basically clowning on him. Oh, he forgot how to play basketball, etc. He's been balling. They almost turned a corner at the same time, but he got back to playing like he does. He's shooting like 39% over the last 25 games. So, both of those guys were guys that, was more of the mental side of the game, just getting them back to focusing on a couple things that would really help them with their mechanics, and then just getting back to the, the swagger that they need to go out there and get good results. And, then there's a bunch of other guys too, the guys like Shimi Olajay, who people don't like, think about as much because maybe he doesn't have as big of a role as some of those other guys. He's having a great year for the Celtics. Anytime he's out there, he's playing well. So I work with a lot of guys. My big thing is just be able to help them as much as I can, whenever I can, and that's what I try to pride myself on.
Yeah, I'm actually from Boston, so Shemi is like I love like the stuff he does. It's all undervalued. Like he people don't know he covers Giannis most of the time. Like he's like very switchable. Like can cover a lot of those bigger guys. I love Shemi. But
Jimmy's one of the best defenders that people don't know about.
yeah.
I always joke around. I tell him he can stop everybody besides me in our one-on-one games, but
I
no,
love
you won't find a harder worker and a better person. And he's definitely playing very, very well this season. And as his opportunity continues to grow and expand, I think people are going to be able to see what he's truly capable of, which is, a really good player.
yeah. And going back to Embiid, like, what do you think? Like, if you were gonna pin it on one thing, what do you think the one thing that really like helped him make that jump this season was?
Confidence with his handles. I mean, you see him facing up a lot more. You see him being more versatile. I think that, 2 years ago, he put up 28 points a game. People don't even remember that really because last year he had injuries and had a little bit of a down year for his standards. But really, the thing that took him to the next level is his handles, his confidence, his handles, shooting off the dribble, which means both the fadeaways and the hezzy pull-ups. It just makes him unguardable. If you got a guy that's real strong, you face up, and they're not fast enough to stay with him because he's so good with his feet. If you got a guy that's a little bit smaller, he bullies you and punishes you, and he plays back to the basket, and you can't stop him there. So you really have to just run 2-3 guys at you and hope that his teammates aren't making shots because you can't guard him with one guy.
Yeah. Um, and I'm curious with these guys. I want to know the way you think about this and look at it. Do you say, okay, I have a player who's really good at X, Y, and Z. Let's try to just maximize his talent at X, Y, and Z? Or should we try to search for maybe some weaknesses, some potential in his game where he could really get better and just kind of stay where he's at with what he's good with? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have a quote that I've said for a long time. I always say, master the role you're in while working towards the role that you want. What that means is, let's use a guy like Shimmy. So Shimmy, the role that he's in with the Celtics is a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
He has to play defense first and foremost. That's why he's out there on the court. And then he has to make open three-pointers. Now, the role that he wants is an expanded offensive version of that, which means where he can attack closeouts, where he can make plays, where he can drive downhill and finish, which you're seeing some of this year. And so what you would do is you'd spend a lot of time. Most of our time is spent on, basically drift into the corner and either shooting it, shot fake and side dribble, or shot fake and attack and then finish against contested defense. And then we do it from the wing. Same exact thing where he just shifts, creates a little more separation from him and his gap defender. And then he has to make a decision, catch and shoot, catch and drive. And so, it was funny. There was one time this summer where, Shimmy walks in. I finished up a workout with Jason, and I'm sitting there on the bleachers, and I'm talking to Jason afterwards, and Shimmy walked in, and I said, "Hey, do your warm up shooting," and then you got 6 spots of live reads, which means my interns basically guard him, and he has to either read, does he catch and shoot, does he catch and shot fake side dribble, does he catch shot fake and get downhill and finish, and we have basically 2 defenders where one guy's on him, the on-ball defender, and one guy is a rotating shot blocking defender. And so Jason and I are sitting there talking. He goes, "Aren't you going to go down and work him out?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, he knows what he's doing." And he's like, "You guys have done the same workout for the last 4 days." I go, "Because that's all he does for you guys." You know what I mean? And so let's just get him really good at what he does. Now, saying that, that doesn't mean that I'm just, hey, go play one-on-one against the interns. I mean, most of the time what we're doing is we're teaching and coaching throughout that process, which means, when he's catching it, if he doesn't shoot, I'm like, "Stop." His hand, the defender's hands were below his waist. You got to shoot that one. You got to have a quicker trigger. Or, hey, stop. When you attacked, you were way rounded on your attacking angle. Now you don't have as much creativity to finish, etc. But we spend most of our time on that. Now, there is some times where we'll say, okay, we know that in 2-3 years, your role is going to be this. So let's start working on that, which is where you start adding some of the secondary finishes, maybe like a drive into like use your body and a little sidestep fade away, which every once in a while you see it in a game and you're like, wow, yeah, good move from Shimmy. He's got all that in his bag. It's just that's not his role that the Celtics want him to be playing in yet. So that's why we spend the majority of the time on kind of what he's doing now and what his team needs him to do so that he can be, help his team be successful. And then, spend some time just growing and adding the bag so that eventually he can be the player that we know he can become.
Mhm. Um, for players, youth players, high school players, college players, is there a skill like you're seeing these guys or NBA guys that's really starting to work for them and translate uh like even just shooting, like is shooting something that if you put a lot of repetition into it, like you think that that's something important, like that's really going to translate to the next level.
Shooting's the number one skill right now in
Yeah.
basketball. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so hard to win if you got guys that can't shoot because spacing's so much easier defensively, et cetera. You even look in the playoffs in the NBA. I mean, even at the NBA level, some of these superstars that aren't considered shooters, they have trouble advancing in the playoffs just because the defensive schemes and coverages are able to zone in and really kind of pack the paint. So, yeah, I would say shooting's the number one skill that players need to have. I would say another one is finishing. I don't think players work on contested finishing enough, which is so important because as defenders continue to get better and better at limiting 3-point opportunities, that means they're running you off the 3-point line, which means you're attacking downhill, and now you have to be able to finish at the basket. Um, and then the other one is decision making. Those are the three big offensive skills. You got to be able to make the right decision. To take the shot, to attack or close out, to finish or to pass to a teammate. Those are all things that go into becoming a good offensive player.
What is your process with teaching someone how to shoot? Because it's definitely easier said than done.
My process of teaching what now?
Shooting.
Shooting's hard, man. Shooting's so unique to every individual. I mean, so I'll give you an example. Like Jason Tatum, Zach Levine, both of those guys had really high shot pockets when they were growing up, and so we had to lower their shot pocket. That starts with kind of identifying it, so showing them on film, also talking to them about why we're going to do it. Then it goes through kind of the mechanical drills where you're just doing breakdown drills to over exaggerate the correction. There were times where I had Zach and Jason like pass the ball from their chest at the rim, and then they would eventually pass it from their shoulders, and then pass it from their nose, and then eventually pass it from their forehead. And I'd say, stop. That's what your shot's eventually going to feel like. And they're like, bro, that feels like I'm passing the ball. It doesn't feel like I'm shooting the ball because feel and real is different. And so that's the process that you have to go through is you have to basically connect those two where the feel is, okay, this feels great. And then the real is it looks great and then eventually you get great results. For guys like RJ Barrett and Kelly Oubre, we had to move their elbows out, which scares a lot of people. Knicks fans wanted to rip my head off at the beginning of the season because, before the season I did an interview and they're like, what'd you do with RJ's shot? RJ's saying that you guys changed his shot. And I was like, yeah, we moved his elbow out. And every coach, old school coach, always says elbow tucked in, elbow tucked in. And then he had 10 terrible shooting nights in a row after his first opening night where he couldn't miss. And they all were like, you idiot, why would you ever move his elbow out? But the truth is, I always say that the big C is comfortable. You got to be comfortable. And it's not comfortable for a player that doesn't have flexibility to have their elbow really tucked in. You have to be confident. You have to believe that it's going to go in, and you have to be consistent. And so those are the big 3 C's that we're going for. And every player has a different shot, So if you look at all my players across the board, they all can shoot it, but they all have very different mechanics. And Joel Embiid has really big hands. So you'll notice that his left hand, he kind of cups his hand just so that there's more room on the ball for his shooting hand. Jason has a little bit more of a 2-motion shot where he gets the ball to his pocket and then shoots it. Whereas a guy like Brad Beal is very get his elbow under the ball, circle it up, and very fluid, kind of with his base. You got guys that have different forms, that do different things on their follow through as well based on their wrist flexibility. Shimi Olajay can't get his wrist all the way back, so he has a quicker snap to make up for the lack of wrist mobility. I mean, these are all things that go into, creating good shooter. I know that some fans are going, what? Like, you know what I mean? There's not like one thing, but if you watch any sport in golf, every player has a different swing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In basketball, every shooter has a different shot. And so the big key is to master their shot, their shooting mechanics so that they can get the results that they want when they're in the games.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask next. Is like, what tells you that RJ needs to move his elbow out? Like, who's to say what the right answer is?
A lot of it's trial and error, and a lot of it is, very, very, very educated guessing. It's why it's why there's not many good shooting coaches in the world because you can't just go by a textbook. Back in the day, it used to be squared feet and elbow perfectly in line, wrist perfectly cocked, but that just doesn't feel comfortable for a lot of players' body types. And so you have to build a shot that's comfortable to that player. And so, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's been times where I've tried something and said, nope, let's try this. Nope, let's try this. Nope. And eventually working together with the player, you come up with something that is comfortable, confident, and consistent that yields the results that you want.
Yeah, and I think even with stuff like that, it's really important you have trust from those players because they could easily just say, "Oh, you messed up my shot. I can't shoot for 2 weeks." He doesn't know what he's talking about. You need that level of trust.
It takes a long time. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a long time. I think that, I mean, some players you can make lower body changes are pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
You're just trying to widen somebody's base, improve their balance. Usually you can do that in, I mean, in a couple of weeks. But if you're changing somebody's pocket like RJ's, I'm actually surprised as well as he's shooting it this year, you know? And I told him that before the year. I said, hey, listen, we're making a huge change in your shot. I said, I think you're going to end up shooting around 33 to 35% from three. And he was like, what? Like, that's not great. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's okay, because the following year, I think then we're going to get really good results. But it's like a process. You look at, you know, guys like Shimmy OJ. Shimmy shot 20%, and then it went to 30%, 31 or 33%, and then now 30, you know, high 30s. And you look at guys like even Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is, you know, a guy that everyone knows is a great shooter. He shot under 30% for his rookie season. Michael Jordan didn't shoot over 30% until his sixth season in the NBA. You know, and so people don't really realize that, like, shooting it takes time, and adjustments, depending on how severe they are, it takes time. And so that's the one thing the casual fan does not know, is that sometimes we do things that we know might take you a step backwards, but eventually is going to take you a leap forward.
Mm-hmm.
And fans don't like that because they want instant success.
Yeah.
You know, there's even times where, you know, like you'll have a guy that you might say is a bad finisher, and you're saying, hey, let's try to get downhill more. This is going to help you out in the long run. And they're missing layup after layup, and they're going, hey, stop doing that. But it's like, hey, if we don't do it now, if we don't fail and learn from it, we're never going to have that in our bag. And so, you know, development's a process, and it does take a lot of trust, and you have to make sure that you and the player are working together. And if you do that and do it well and make the right educated guesses and you pivot fast, that's the key, pivoting fast. If something's not working, you can't stick on it. You got to move and make an adjustment. But if you do those things, you can get results in the long run.
Yeah. Couple more lighter questions. Do you have any funny NBA stories for us? Any off the court or during workout? Any funny stuff?
I got too many off the court funny stories. I mean, I got the one that I just said the other day was funny because I wrote Zach a birthday letter. His fiance had asked me for to write a birthday letter as one of the people that, you know, was she was going to attach it to a balloon and give to Zach. And I said something about, we were golfing this summer, and we had put some money on a drive. And I said, hey, you know, I bet you I outdrive you. And then, so I outdrove him, and he goes, let me hit another one. I said, I bet you don't even hit in the fairway this time. And he was like, bet. And sure enough, he hit it, and it did not hit. It started going to the left, and he snaps his club, and I was on live. So everybody was going, wait, did he actually break that club? I was like, yeah, he was a little frustrated. So we got a ton. I mean, even like Joel, when I went to Africa the first time, we played soccer. We were playing soccer with a bunch of little kids, and Joel's so competitive. And there was maybe, 12, 13-year-old that had the ball, and Joel goes up and body checks the kid and bumps him off the ball. I mean, there's too many, some that I would never share, some that I have shared like that. But that's one of the best parts about it is, you know, just the human aspect of it is, you know, a lot of people look at them as NBA stars, but they're just like every one of us. They're normal guys that, you know, happen to be really, really good at the sport that they play.
Yeah. Have you seen any funny clown drills lately?
You know, I rag on clown trainers all the time. The biggest reason is I care about the players doing the clown drills. I don't want a player to be working hard and spending time in the gym and working on the wrong stuff and never get the results, because that leads to, you know, hurt feelings, depression, etc. And so one day I hope that trainers care more about the players than they do about themselves. And when that happens, I think that the game of basketball is going to be in a really good spot.
Mm-hmm. Can I get an NBA championship prediction from you?
No chance. I
No
never
chance?
give predictions just because I got too many clients that are on different teams. I mean, even in the Eastern Conference, you know, I would get hammered, and fans love to jump on that stuff. So
Yeah.
I try to stay away from predictions and just kind of say that I hope that one of my guys is holding up the trophy at the end of the day.
Yeah. And moving forward, kind of what are your goals, both business wise and training wise? Just taking day by day, or
Yeah, no, I really do. My goals are my clients' goals. I want them to all to reach levels of success that they didn't think that they could get to on their own. And personally, I just want to be able to help as many players, coaches, trainers, as I can throughout the game of basketball. Basketball just happens to be a platform, that allows me to help people. But that's what I'm all about, is helping people find success, on the court, and then find inner peace off the court. And if those two things happen, I'll feel like I've done a good job.
absolutely, man. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I got. I really appreciate you taking your time, Drew.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed talking to you.
All right, man. Thank you.